Ben, hey man.
Man, what's happening?
Hey, not too much. It must be Thursday. This is episode 8, so we're 8 weeks running strong. What's the highest? I mean, are we into the what's the highest you've seen it? Seen rates go up, so far this year.
I mean, depending on credit, I mean, there's a times like 2 weeks ago after that CPI inflation report came out that felt like 6.25 was like a good rate.
Golly.
And then, last week we dipped down to the low fives. So it moved dramatically. But now the 10-year treasury's back right about 3. So we need that thing about 2.7 or so. So that's where we've seen the lower interest rates. But again, the people selling rate, they're very hesitant to pass along those gains right away.
Yeah.
Because the market is so volatile, these investors who are selling rate, they're not passing along those gains as fast as what they could have or should have, because they don't want the market to change so fast where they start getting margin calls from their investors, right? So if the market moves so fast in either direction, there's margin in there that they have to make up.
Okay.
And so that's what they call these margin calls. So back in 2020, when we were seeing this again, when rates dropped really fast or they went up before they actually went down. But a lot of mortgage companies got these margin calls from their warehouse lines, and they were having to come to the table with millions of dollars. Like there's rumors out there like these bigger mortgage companies having to stroke checks for, $5, 10, 15, $20 million a day to keep up with these margins. So that's why I think they've learned from that, and they're really not passing along the gains as fast.
Okay.
Anyway, so we'll see.
Interesting. Okay. That's like a whole episode right there.
Dude, it's on a different level, but we can't bore people with all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's fascinating. It's it's really, really interesting stuff. I mean, how all that stuff is happening behind the scenes. I mean, do you think at some point they will share those savings and buyers down on our level will reap the benefits, or no?
Man, it's like the freaking gas stations. I think they all talk to each other.
Yeah.
And you know what? This is where we're setting pricing.
Yeah.
I'm serious. It's like the gas stations. You can drive down. You can see 15 gas stations. They're all $4.49 right now in Smyrna. I'm dead serious. Who set these prices, right?
Yeah.
But it's kind of funny, but we'll see.
Well, cool, man. Hey, so it's July now, so we can look at the June numbers. Like we talked about last month when we did the May numbers, it takes a couple days for it to catch up. Really, we're on the 7th of July, but still there are some things that are going to close out from June where those numbers might change a little bit, but we can look at some of this stuff now. So I'm going to change it to this screen so it's full on there. So this was, I'm going to take it off sale price because that's the really interesting one, but this was new listings. So for the month of June, just like we predicted, new listings have started to creep back up, right? Also, months of supply. I mean, look at this curve right here. So we went from where it was just flat, dropped all the way down to almost a month flat at the beginning of the year, stayed there for several months, and now we're steadily creeping back up. So we're at 1.8, almost 2 months of inventory now. 1.8 months of inventory is still very low, but I mean, it's creeping up. We're probably going to get back to this range eventually. In the next, 6-9 months, we're going to get back up into this 3 months of inventory range. But it's basically exactly like what we said would happen. And what all of these experts said will happen. Homes will continue to increase in value, though it did stay flat over the last month, but they'll continue to increase in value. Less buyers in the market means less showings. Days on market stayed the same. So homes are still selling fast. We're still in a seller's market. Oh, you asked about, seller's market. Where we get into a buyer's market is like 6 or 7 months. So, we talked about before 2019 where we were at 3 months of inventory, 3.5 months of inventory. That was still a very good seller's market. So today at 1.8 months of inventory, we're still in our inventory is so low, it's keeping demand high, even though interest rates have gone up and there are maybe less buyers in the market. Inventory, being so low is still keeping demand very high. And even when this doubles, when we get to, over 3 months of inventory, 3.5 months of inventory, we're still going to be in a seller's market. It's going to take a lot more inventory to get us out of that seller's market. In my experience with FHA and VA, it's like as long as it's habitable and safe, then there's not a problem. Now, if it's a house that investors are going to be looking at, that's probably not going to work for FHA. But I had that question come up with a buyer this week, and it's a house that basically belongs to an estate now, and so there was a question of like whether or not it would work for FHA, and I wouldn't think it would be a problem, other than those kind of things. So that's good to know about the smoke detectors, to make sure that it has all the smoke detectors and they work. And I had one weird thing come up in a VA appraisal one time, and it was my listing, but the carpet upstairs had one little roll in it, like it wasn't tight enough, just in one little spot, and they called that out as a tripping hazard. The VA appraiser did. Yeah. And I also had a VA appraiser once call out some wood rot on a windowsill on the outside.
They'll do that. Or I've even had them called out on like chip paint on windowsills or on columns.
Really? Chipped paint?
Yep.
Man.
Because, I guess it's a safety hazard if you're eating paint chips.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Well, good. Thanks for answering that question for me. Well, I want to look at the numbers one more time and just go over that, because really that's kind of was the biggest point of this episode. Once again, next week will be a really good episode for anybody to watch who's thinking about vacation rentals. Next week, we're going to interview a real estate agent down in Florida, the Panhandle, 30A, and he's going to talk to us about vacation rentals. And I mean, in that area, that's mostly what it is. I mean, you have people in those beach communities who live there permanently, but most of that is vacation rentals. And there are some people who own multiple rentals down there and make a pretty good profit off of those vacation rentals, and they also have a place that they can go, right? Do you guys you and Mindy have a vacation rental? Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you have several rentals, right? Just no.
Yeah, we do. I just for some reason we were looking in Blue Ridge at one time, and then now we're looking in St. George Island down in Florida. So we're definitely looking. I don't know. I got too much going on.
I feel you. No,
everything else. Like if Mindy wants to manage it and all that, but I just can't.
Yeah, I mean,
right now.
Yeah, down in Rosemary, I don't know if everywhere is like this, but it seems like in Rosemary, and I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Like they have certain property management companies that you have to use if you're going to have a rental down there. Mm-hmm. At least in Rosemary, and because we rent through the same company every single time, and I mean it's expensive. I mean that property management fee is steep. It's steeper than anywhere else. Any other just regular market, a vacation market, the property management is a lot more. But for me, my thought, and I think for a lot of people who have those properties down there, is it's like, well, as long as what we're getting, what the rental income is getting, as long as that's covering the expenses and the mortgage, and we can put away some for maintenance, then that's fine. And we have somewhere to vacation a couple weeks out of the year.
You know that you've heard me talk about that investor cash flow loan, that DSCR.
No, tell me. You did talk to me about it briefly, but tell me about it so we can let everybody else know.
So DSCR is debt service coverage ratio, and it's pretty much an investor cash flow mortgage where we're qualifying the property. We're not really even qualifying the borrower. Yes, you have to have a good credit score, okay? But there's no employment verification. There's no income verification. So you can put anywhere from 20% to 30% down. Just it has to be greater than 20%, and the DSCR has to be 1-to-1, or it can go down to 75, but there's a rate hit. So meaning if the mortgage is $2,000, the rent has to be $2,000.
Right.
That's the 1-to-1 ratio. Okay. The rent's a little bit less. You can go down, but you just have to have a higher credit score, but there's a rate hit. So great for investors and great for people buying investment properties. With those loans, though, you do have to have a history of being a landlord.
Oh, okay.
And you do actually have to own your current home.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? You might not have to have a history with some of the investors that we use for this program. So you just have to own your current home.
Okay.
But they just changed it where we can actually use short-term rental income instead of long-term rent. So we can use tools like AirDNA to see like, okay, well, this property is going to rent for 15 days a month at $300 a night. We can use that as a part of our ratio.
That's really cool.
It is cool. So it's really good for those self-employed investors who don't show a lot on tax returns, have multiple properties, complex files. The rate is a lot higher than a traditional mortgage, but great option for investors now that we can use Airbnb, VRBO as a source for that. So if you want to go buy a condo in Destin or Rosemary or wherever, we can look it up in AirDNA and see like, you know what, this size of unit in this area on average rents for 23 days a month at this rate.
Mm-hmm.
And we can actually use that over a year period. I don't know if you have AirDNA or
I've heard of it, but I've never used it.
It is really good because it takes all that data in from VRBO and Airbnb, and it shows you everything on what you can actually make for that property. It's really good.
That's really helpful. So that's cool. So what was that loan program called? This is for investors.
It's investor cash flow.
Okay. So
there's no investor cash flow or DSCR.
So there's no employment check, and is there a credit check? There's a credit check, right?
Yeah, there is credit check because your credit score is based on what the rate you're going to receive.
Okay, so there's credit check. There's no employment check.
There's no employment verification, no income verification.
Okay, so it's just based on what?
They're really based on what's this place going to rent for and what's it going to cash flow.
Yeah, so as long
are you going to be able to make your mortgage payment with the rents being received?
Right, that's cool. I like that. I do remember you mentioning that to me, and I'm definitely going to have somebody that'll be able to use that program.
Yeah, it's really good.
So, like we talked about before, so sale price stayed flat from May to June at $400,000, but that's still, that's good. The other thing is, like I said, should I share this? I should share this real quick. Okay. So sale price stayed flat from May to June, but like I mentioned before, some of these numbers may update in the next few weeks as more sales get recorded. New listings jumped way up from May to June for the second month in a row. Homes for sale continuing to climb. Months of supply went up again from 1.4 to 1.8 months. closed sales is down, pending sales down, and then shows to pending has just dropped off. So that, really, I think that was the most interesting thing, is to see how those shows from pending came down. I mean, really, you're just dropping off. Because that really is your insight into how many buyers are in the market. If the pending sale, or if the shows to it goes under contract, means is going down. That means you're just getting less buyers in the door. And inventory is creeping back up. So just like we said, those home values will continue to rise. We'll have to look at it again. Obviously, we're going to look at it every month. And Ben, real quick, just for the recording, give everybody your information real quick so they can reach you if they need to.
Absolutely. Ben Bell, ATL Mortgage. My telephone number is 770-841-1532. Ben at bellmortgageteam.com, and you can look me up at bellmortgageteam.com. So
okay,
there you go.
Awesome.
Pretty simple stuff.
All right, thanks, Ben. Talk to you soon, man. Have a good rest of your week.
You too.